You've probably eaten tuna this week, maybe even today. It's quick, cheap, and feels healthy. But what if the way you choose, drain, or read the label is slowly raising your mercury levels, affecting your brain, heart, and long-term energy? It's not about cutting it out. It's about eating it right. Let's fix the 4 mistakes most people make and give your body one less thing to detox. As a nutritionist, I'm often asked, is tuna healthy or toxic? The truth lives in the details. Not all tuna is equal, and not all brands or labels tell you the full story. Let me walk you through 4 small shifts that could dramatically change your relationship with this powerful, misunderstood food. 1. Not all tuna is the same. Tuna isn't just tuna. That phrase surprises people because we've been taught to treat it like one uniform food. But behind the can, there's a spectrum of species, each carrying a very different burden of mercury. And your body can feel the difference, whether or not the label tells you the truth. Let's go beneath the surface. There are 3 main species you'll typically find in canned tuna. Skipjack, Katsuwonus pelamis. Small, short-lived, 2 to 3 years. Contains about 0.12 parts per million of mercury, labeled simply as tuna in most cans. Safest for regular consumption. Yellowfin, Thunus albicares. Larger, lives up to 10 years, contains 0.35 parts per million mercury on average. Often labeled as light tuna or yellowfin. Albacore, Thunus alalunga, big migratory predator, lives the longest. Contains up to 0.50 pp in a mercury, labeled white tuna or albacore tuna. EPA and FDA advise strict limitation on intake. Why does this matter? Because mercury isn't something your body eliminates easily. It accumulates, especially in fatty tissues, the brain, and kidneys. Over time, even small exposures from the wrong type of tuna can affect memory, mood, and neurological clarity. Think of mercury like sand in a backpack. One handful doesn't matter. But if you never empty it, you'll be carrying far more than you thought. A 2023 Environmental Health Perspectives review found that consumers who chose albacore over skipjack without realizing it had blood mercury levels up to 3 times higher, especially in households eating canned tuna more than once a week. Ritual to try, Tuna Trust. Test. Next time you shop or open your pantry, look for the word skipjack or Katsuwonus pelamis on the label. Avoid vague labels like light tuna unless clarified. Research your brand sourcing. Many list species online. Rotate with sardines, very low mercury, high in calcium and omega-3, wild salmon, rich in brain protective fats. Mackerel, Atlantic, bold flavor, low toxicity. This isn't about cutting tuna, it's about cutting confusion, because your brain, your child's development, and your long-term clarity deserve better than a mystery fish in a metal shell. So, pause just a moment before your next sandwich and ask, do I actually know what species I'm feeding my body today? 2. The label isn't telling you enough. Most labels are designed to comfort you. They use words like light, premium, wild caught, but skip the one thing that matters most, what's actually inside the can. Because here's the truth. You can't trust a tuna label at first glance. Let's unpack this. You walk into a store and see a can that says light tuna. Seems harmless. Safer than white or albacore, right? Not necessarily. In the US, the FDA allows light tuna to include multiple species, not just the safer skipjack, but also yellowfin, which carries nearly 3 times more mercury. And the label doesn't always tell you which is inside, unless it says 100% skipjack, or lists the species, Katsuwonus pelamis. You're left guessing. This is like buying a box of pills where the ingredient list is optional, and your brain, your liver, your nervous system, they're left to process what your eyes didn't catch. Think of the label as a locked door. You either ask for the key, or you keep eating in the dark. A 2021 consumer audit by the Mercury Policy Project found that over 40% of light tuna products contained unlisted yellowfin or albacore, exposing consumers to higher levels of mercury than they believed. And who's most vulnerable? Children, pregnant women, people with autoimmune or neurological disorders, Anyone eating tuna more than once a week. Ritual to try. Label. Audit at home. Pull out all canned tuna you have. Look for skipjack or scientific name. Katsuwonus pellemus. Clear statements of species, not just color or texture. Certifications, MSC or traceable sourcing. Go to the brand's website. Most major brands now have species traceability tools. Enter the barcode or batch number to reveal fish origin. Replace unlabeled cans with tuna in glass jars, often more transparent sourcing. Brands that lead with species info, not just marketing words. Because protection starts with precision, and clarity doesn't happen by accident. So, ask yourself this week, when was the last time you read a food label and truly saw what was hidden in plain sight? Not all toxins wear warnings, but today, you've started learning how to read them anyway. 3. Mercury adds up without you noticing. No one eats mercury on purpose, but the body doesn't care about intention. It reacts to accumulation, a can here, a sandwich there, a salad twice a week. And slowly, silently, mercury builds inside you, cell by cell. Your body does not flush methylmercury easily. It binds to sulfhydryl groups in proteins and lingers, particularly in brain tissue, liver, kidneys, the fetal nervous system in pregnancy. This is why even small, regular exposures can affect memory and attention, mood and sleep, hormonal signaling and inflammation. Think of mercury like invisible static in your nervous system. It distorts signals before you even notice something's wrong. You may feel foggy or slower, to recall more irritable or fatigued, slight tremors or numbness in hands over time. A 2020 environmental research paper found that adults who ate tuna more than twice a week had blood mercury levels 2.5 to 4 times higher than those who ate once per week or less. Most of them had no symptoms yet, but early EEG changes were measurable. The body gives you time, but not forever. Ritual to try, mercury map. Your week. For the next 7 days, write down every seafood meal you eat, what species and brand, if known, whether it was drained or mixed, if you had any headaches, fogginess, or stiffness after. If you eat tuna more than twice a week, reduce to 1 to 2 servings max, 4 ounces per serving. Rotate with low mercury fish, wild-caught salmon, sardines, trout, Atlantic mackerel, not king mackerel. Add detox allies, cilantro, chlorella, selenium, Brazil nuts. Plenty of filtered water. Daily movement to activate lymph flow. Remember, you don't have to stop eating tuna, you just have to stop letting it pile up quietly. Because toxicity isn't always about one big mistake. Sometimes it's just not noticing the buildup until your body can't carry it anymore. So ask gently, have you counted the cans before your brain started counting the consequences? 4. You forgot to drain the danger. You opened the can, poured the tuna into your bowl, mixed it with mayo, lemon, maybe celery. But you skipped one step, the one that could have removed 30% of the mercury you just served yourself. You didn't drain the liquid. Most people don't know this. Mercury doesn't just sit in the meat, it binds to fat. And depending on the liquid your tuna is packed in, you might be keeping more of it than you think. Let's break this down. Canned tuna typically comes in water oil, usually soybean or olive blend. Many believe oil-packed tuna is unhealthier due to calories or fat. But when it comes to mercury, that oil may be your ally if you drain it properly. Mercury has a high affinity for lipid layers, meaning it dissolves more easily in fat than in water. Studies have shown that draining oil-packed tuna removes up to 30% of mercury content, while water-packed tuna retains more of it within the muscle, because there's nowhere else for it to go. Imagine oil as a sponge that holds onto toxins. If you squeeze it before eating, you leave less for your body to absorb. A 2022 analysis in food chemistry confirmed. Draining oil-packed tuna. Significant reduction in methylmercury per gram. Draining water-packed tuna, minimal reduction. Ritual to try, the 5-second drain. If using oil-packed tuna, use a strainer or press the lid firmly to squeeze out oil. Let it rest upside down for 10 seconds. Pat with towel if possible before mixing. If using water-packed tuna, still drain, but don't rely on it to remove mercury. Pair with lemon, parsley, or cilantro, ingredients that aid gentle detox. Eat with fiber to bind metals in the gut, e.g., avocado, whole grain toast. Consider switching one meal a week to jarred tuna in olive oil. European brands often higher quality, plus traceable species. Sardines in EVO-O, low mercury, high omega-3. Because sometimes the harm wasn't in the fish. It was in the fluid you forgot to let go of. So next time you crack that lid, ask, what am I keeping that my body never agreed to carry? You didn't choose wrong. You chose what felt convenient, what was labeled light, healthy, or natural. You trusted the can, the shelf, the brand. And in that trust, you may have missed something small. A species unlisted, a drop of oil unevaporated, a routine repeated a little too often. But here's what matters more than any mistake. You noticed. Because most health damage doesn't arrive as disaster. It arrives as routine. What we eat without question. What we buy without reading. What we swallow while saying, it's just tuna. Today you slowed down. You looked closer. And in doing so, you re-entered a relationship with your food. One where you ask questions before your body begs for answers. This reflection isn't about shame. It's about clarity. Because healing rarely begins with treatment. It begins with noticing what you've been repeating while distracted. So, pause before your next meal and ask softly, what else have I trusted without reading closely? And what might change if I did? Walk to your kitchen, open your cupboard, find one can of tuna. Check the label. What species is listed? Is it packed in oil or water? Did you ever think about how often you eat it? Now choose, drain it differently. Rotate it with sardines or wild salmon, or simply set a new limit for the week ahead. One change, one can, one layer of protection for your brain. What fish do you trust most now? Have you found a favorite brand with transparent sourcing? Drop a recommendation below. Your tip might help someone else protect their child, their mind, or their future. Our habits become someone else's inheritance. The way we eat teaches our children what safe looks like. So when you pause, read, and choose more wisely, you don't just protect your neurons. You shape the way healing can live in a home. Because sometimes a better life starts not with a new supplement, but with a new way to open an old can.